The moment alien princess discovers her childhood protector was this human. Asterisk Princess Zerathiel stood at the massive window of her childhood bedroom, watching the twin moons of Kepler-7 rise over the rocky landscape. The frontier colony looked peaceful now, but she remembered when it was dangerous, very dangerous. She was 25 years old now, about to become the ruler of the mighty Nexari Empire. Tomorrow, she would return to her home planet for the coronation ceremony. But tonight, she wanted to remember this place that shaped her into who she was, Your Highness. Her assistant called from the doorway. The transport ship is ready. We should leave soon. Zara nodded but did not turn around. Her purple skin seemed to glow in the moonlight, and her silver hair moved gently in the evening breeze. She was beautiful, even by Nexari standards, but her eyes held something different. They were sharp, alert, always watching for danger. Other royal children grew up in palaces with hundreds of servants. They played games and learned poetry. But Zara grew up here, on this rough mining world, far from the luxury of the capital. Her parents said it was for her safety. There had been many attempts to hurt her when she was small. Too many people wanted to stop her from becoming the next ruler. But Zara knew the real reason she survived. It was not because of the few guards her parents sent with her. It was because of him, the one the colonists called the Shade. She closed her eyes and remembered the first time she saw him. She was only 10 years old then, small and scared. A group of criminals had attacked the colony's school. They wanted to kidnap her and ask for money from her parents. The local guards were not strong enough to stop them. The criminals had surrounded her in the playground. She could still remember their ugly faces, their sharp teeth, their weapons pointed at her. She thought she was going to die. Then he appeared, like smoke, like shadow, like something from a dream. He moved faster than anyone she had ever seen. The criminals did not even have time to scream. In seconds, they were all on the ground, unconscious but alive. When the dust settled, the mysterious figure was gone. Who was that? Young Zara had asked the teacher. The Shade, the teacher whispered. He protects the colony. No one knows who he really is. Over the years, he appeared again and again. When wild animals attacked the settlement, he was there. When pirates tried to raid the mining facilities, he stopped them. When natural disasters struck, he somehow always knew where to find the trapped and injured. The colonists created stories about him. Some said he was a ghost. Others believed he was a robot sent by the government. A few thought he was an alien from another dimension. But Zara had seen him up close more than once, and she knew he was real, very real. She remembered the time when she was 15. A terrible storm had hit the colony. The weather control systems failed, and deadly lightning struck everywhere. The power went out, and the protective shields around the settlement stopped working. Zara had been trapped in the library when the building started to collapse. Heavy metal beams fell from the ceiling. She could not move fast enough to escape. Then, suddenly, strong arms lifted her up. She felt herself being carried through the darkness, moving with incredible speed and precision. When they reached safety, she looked up at her rescuer. She could not see his face clearly in the darkness, but she saw his eyes. They were kind but determined, human eyes, she realized with surprise. But that was impossible. Humans were supposed to be weak and slow compared to her people. "Thank you," she whispered. He did not answer. He just made sure she was safe, then disappeared into the storm. Now, 10 years later, Zara still wondered about those eyes. She had studied human anatomy in school. Humans were supposed to be primitive compared to the Nexari. They had no natural weapons, no energy shields, no telepathic abilities. They lived much shorter lives and were physically weaker. So how could a human move like that? How could he be so fast, so strong, so clever? "Your Highness," her assistant called again. "The Royal Council is waiting." Zara turned away from the window. "I am coming." As she walked through the corridors of the small palace, she touched the walls gently. This place had been her home for 15 years. It was not grand like the palaces on her home world, but it was real. It had taught her to be strong, to think for herself, to trust her instincts. The transport ship was beautiful, covered in silver and gold decorations. It looked like something from a fairy tale. But Zara felt nervous as she climbed aboard. She was leaving the simple life of the frontier for the complicated politics of the capital. The ship lifted off smoothly, and Kepler-7 became smaller and smaller below them. Zara pressed her face against the window, watching until the planet disappeared completely. "Are you excited about the coronation, Your Highness?" asked Captain Velter, her uncle's personal guard who had come to escort her home. "Yes," Zara said, though she was not sure it was true. "I am ready to serve my people." Captain Velter smiled, but something in his expression made Zara uncomfortable. She had learned to read faces during her years on the frontier. It was a skill that helped her survive, and right now, her instincts were telling her to be careful. "The Empire has changed much since you left," Velter said. "Many people question whether someone raised on a primitive world can truly understand the complexities of ruling a galactic civilization." Zara kept her face calm, but inside she felt angry. "I may have grown up on the frontier, but I learned important lessons there. I learned that actions matter more than words. I learned that real strength comes from protecting others, not from having power over them." "Of course, Your Highness," Velter said, but his tone suggested he did not believe her. As the ship jumped into hyperspace, Zara closed her eyes and thought about the Shade. Wherever he was now, she hoped he was safe. She wondered if she would ever see him again. She wondered if she would ever get the chance to thank him properly for saving her life so many times. She had no idea that in just a few hours, she would discover the truth about her mysterious protector. And that truth would change everything she thought she knew about strength, loyalty, and what it really meant to be a guardian. The coronation ceremony was the most beautiful event Zara had ever seen. The great throne room of the Nexari capital sparkled with thousands of lights. Representatives from 100 worlds had come to witness her become the new Empress. The air filled with music from the royal orchestra, and the sweet smell of exotic flowers decorated every corner. Zara wore the traditional golden crown of her ancestors. It was heavy, much heavier than she expected. The ceremonial robes were made from the finest silk in the galaxy, but they felt strange after years of wearing simple clothes on Kepler-7. "Citizens of the Nexari Empire," announced the High Chancellor, his voice echoing through the massive hall. "Today we crown Princess Zeradiel as your new Empress. She will lead us into a new age of peace and prosperity." The crowd cheered loudly. Thousands of voices joined together in celebration. But Zara felt nervous. She looked around at all the faces watching her. Some looked happy, but others seemed suspicious. She remembered what Captain Velter had said about people questioning her ability to rule. "Do you, Princess Zeradiel, promise to protect the Nexari Empire and all its people?" the Chancellor asked. "I do," Zara said, her voice strong and clear. "Do you promise to defend our traditions and our way of life?" "I do." The Chancellor was about to place the crown on her head when everything went wrong. The lights went out suddenly. Emergency alarms started ringing throughout the palace. In the darkness, Zara heard the sound of energy weapons charging up. Someone was attacking the coronation ceremony. "Protect the princess," shouted the royal guards. Bright flashes of plasma fire lit up the throne room. The guests screamed and ran for the exits. Zara could not see who was attacking, but she could hear their weapons firing from multiple directions. The attackers had planned this carefully. The royal guards formed a circle around Zara, their energy shields glowing blue in the darkness. But they were confused and frightened. They had trained for attacks, but not like this. The enemy seemed to be everywhere at once. "Stay close to us, Your Highness," Captain Velter commanded. But Zara noticed he did not seem as surprised as the other guards. His reaction was to calm, to prepared. A plasma bolt flew straight towards Zara's head. She closed her eyes, waiting for the end, but the bolt never hit her. She opened her eyes and saw a figure standing in front of her. He was not tall or impressive looking. He wore simple brown clothing, not armor or royal robes. But somehow, he had moved fast enough to deflect the plasma bolt with just his bare hands. "Impossible," whispered one of the guards. The figure turned slightly, and Zara saw his profile. Her heart stopped. Those eyes. Those same kind but determined eyes. She remembered from her childhood. The shade, she breathed. But he was not the mysterious shadow warrior she had imagined. He was just a human man with dark hair and calm brown eyes. He looked to be about 40 years old, with scars on his hands that spoke of many battles. "Stay behind me," he said to Zara, his voice steady and confident. The royal guards stared at him in shock. "Who are you?" Captain Velter demanded. "How did you get past our security?" "My name is Marcus Chen," the human said, not taking his eyes off the attackers who were still moving through the darkness. "I'm a security consultant, and right now, I'm the only thing standing between your princess and death." "A human," one of the guards said with disgust. "Impossible. Humans are weak and slow. They cannot fight like that." Marcus smiled grimly. "You might be surprised what humans can do when they need to." More plasma bolts flew toward them. Marcus moved like water, like wind, like something that was not quite real. He seemed to know where each attack would come from before it happened. He guided Zara and the guards through the chaos, always staying one step ahead of the enemy. "How is he doing that?" Zara asked, amazed. "I do not know," Captain Velter said. And for the first time, he sounded genuinely confused. "Our sensors show no energy weapons, no shields, no enhancement technology. He is fighting with nothing but his natural abilities." But Marcus was doing things that seemed impossible for any natural ability. He moved faster than the Nexari guards. Even though humans were supposed to be slower, he predicted the enemy's actions, even though humans were supposed to have no telepathic powers. He turned simple objects into weapons, using chairs and decorative items to block attacks and create barriers. "The emergency exits are blocked," reported one of the guards. "We are trapped in here." "No," Marcus said quietly. "We are not trapped. We are exactly where we need to be." He looked around the throne room carefully, studying the architecture, the lighting, the positions of the attackers. Zara watched his face and realized he was not just reacting to the attack. He was thinking, planning, using his mind as much as his body. "Turn off your energy shields," Marcus told the guards. "What? That is crazy. We will be defenseless. Trust me," Marcus said. "Your shields are giving away your positions. The enemy can track the energy signatures. Without them, you will be harder to see." The guards looked at Captain Velter, who hesitated. Following a human's advice went against everything they had been taught. "Do it," Zara ordered. "He has protected me before. He knows what he is doing." Reluctantly, the guards turned off their shields. Immediately, the enemy's accuracy decreased. They were firing at where the guards had been, not where they were now. Marcus began to move through the throne room like a ghost. He used the darkness to his advantage, appearing and disappearing, striking quickly and then vanishing again. The attackers became confused and frightened. They had expected to fight Nexari warriors with predictable tactics and standard equipment. They had not expected to face a human who fought like no one they had ever seen. "He is not using any technology," one of the guards whispered in amazement. "He is just human." "Just human," Zara repeated, but she was beginning to understand. That being human might be more special than anyone had realized. Marcus appeared beside her again, breathing hard but still alert. "We need to get you out of here," he said. "But first, I need to know who you trust completely." Zara looked around at the guards and court officials. These people had been chosen by her family, but she did not really know them. She had spent her life on Kepler 7, far from the politics of the capital. "I trust you," she said simply. Marcus nodded. "Then follow me, and whatever happens, do not let go of my hand." As they prepared to escape through the chaos, Zara realized that everything she had been taught about humans was wrong. They were not weak or primitive. They were different, and sometimes being different was exactly what the situation needed. The mystery of her childhood protector was finally solved, but it had created 100 new questions. How long had Marcus been watching over her? Why had he dedicated his life to protecting her? And most importantly, what did it mean that a Human could do things that even the advanced Nexari could not. She was about to find out. Marcus led Zera through the dark corridors of the palace, moving like a shadow through the chaos. Emergency lights flashed red, and the sound of fighting echoed from every direction. The attack was not just in the throne room, it was everywhere. How many attackers are there? Zera asked, trying to keep up with Marcus's quick pace. Too many. Marcus replied, checking around each corner before they moved forward. This is not a simple assassination attempt. Someone is trying to take over the entire palace. They reached the Royal Security Center, where the palace's main computer systems controlled everything from lights to defensive weapons. The door was locked, but Marcus pulled a small device from his pocket and attached it to the lock. Within seconds, the door opened. Where did you learn to do that? Zera asked. Humans have to learn many skills to survive. Marcus said simply, we cannot rely on natural strength or energy powers like other species. We must be creative. Inside the security center, they found 3 dead guards and smashed computer screens. The attackers had been there first, destroying the palace's ability to defend itself. They knew exactly where to hit, Marcus said, studying the damage. Someone gave them detailed information about the palace's weak points. You think someone inside helped them? I know someone inside helped them, Marcus said grimly. This attack was planned too well. The timing, the locations, the security codes, it all points to a traitor in the royal court. Zera felt sick. Someone she trusted had betrayed her. Someone had wanted her dead on the day she was supposed to become Empress. We need to find the backup command center, Marcus said. From there, we can contact loyal forces and coordinate a defense. The backup center is 3 levels down. Zera said, but the corridors will be full of attackers. Then we need to move differently than they expect. Marcus said. He looked at Zera carefully. How much do you trust me? Completely. Good. Because I'm going to teach you how to fight like a human. Zera stared at him. But I already know how to fight. I had the best teachers in the Empire. You learn to fight like a Nexari warrior, Marcus said. With energy weapons, personal shields, and formal combat techniques. But right now, we have no advanced weapons and no shields. We have only ourselves. Marcus picked up a broken piece of metal from the floor. This is a weapon now, not because it was designed to be one, but because we choose to make it one. That is how humans think. We adapt, we improvise, we use what we have, not what we wish we had. He handed her the metal piece. Your formal training taught you to stand straight, to follow patterns, to fight honorably. But humans learn to fight to survive. We hide, we trick our enemies, we use the environment to our advantage. That sounds dishonest. Zera said, it is practical, Marcus replied. Honor is important, but staying alive is more important. You cannot protect your people if you are dead. They spent the next few minutes in the security center. While Marcus taught her basic human fighting techniques, he showed her how to move quietly, how to use shadows to hide, how to strike quickly and then disappear. Most importantly, he taught her how to read an enemy's body language to predict their next move. Your people rely on technology to tell them what is happening, Marcus explained. But humans learn to read emotions and intentions just by watching a person's eyes, their posture, their breathing. These things tell you what they are thinking. How do you know all this? Zera asked. I learned it during the war, Marcus said quietly. Earth had many wars before we met other species. We learned to fight against enemies who were stronger, faster, and better equipped than us. We learned to win by being smarter, not stronger. They left the security center and began moving toward the backup command room. But now Zera moved differently. She stepped quietly, stayed close to walls, and watched for small signs that might reveal hidden enemies. Stop, Marcus whispered when they reached the intersection of corridors. What is it? Zera asked. Listen. Zera listened carefully. She could hear fighting in the distance, but nothing close by. I did not hear anything. Exactly. Marcus said, this corridor should have emergency teams or fleeing people, but it is too quiet. Someone is waiting for us. Marcus picked up a small piece of debris and threw it down the corridor. Immediately, energy bolts flew from hidden positions, lighting up the darkness for attackers. Marcus said calmly, 2 on each side. They are using the doorways for cover. How can you tell? The angle of the energy bolts, the timing between shots. Human soldiers learn to count enemies by their shooting patterns. Marcus found a maintenance panel on the wall and opened it. Inside were pipes and electrical cables. Emergency lighting system, he said. If we cut the power to this section, they will be fighting in complete darkness. But we will be in darkness too. Yes, but humans are used to fighting in the dark. We live most of our history without advanced lighting. Your people have always had energy lights. In darkness, we have the advantage. Marcus cut the power cables. The corridor went completely black. Then he did something that amazed Zara. He began to move through the darkness as if he could see perfectly. How are you doing that? She whispered. I am not seeing with my eyes, Marcus said. I am listening to their breathing, their movement, their heartbeats. I am feeling the air currents change when they move. I am using all my senses together. Following his example, Zara closed her eyes and tried to feel the world around her instead of seeing it. Slowly, she began to understand what Marcus meant. She could hear the soft sound of the attackers' feet on the floor. She could feel the warmth of their bodies in the cool air. Working together, they moved through the darkness like ghosts. Marcus struck first, using his piece of metal to disable one attacker silently. Then he guided Zara to the second target. She used what he had taught her, striking quickly and then moving away before the enemy could respond. In minutes, all 4 attackers were unconscious. I cannot believe we did that, Zara said, amazed. You did well, Marcus said. You are learning to think like a human, to use your mind as much as your body. They reached the backup command center and found it still secure. Marcus quickly accessed the palace's communication systems while Zara contacted the loyal guards, who were still fighting throughout the building. Princess, came the voice of General Caxton, the head of palace security. We thought you were dead. Where are you? I am safe, Zara said. But the palace is compromised. Someone on the inside helped the attackers. That is impossible. All our people are loyal. Then how did they know our security codes? How did they find the weak points so easily? There was silence on the communication channel. Then General Caxton spoke again, his voice troubled. What are your orders, Your Highness? Zara looked at Marcus, who nodded encouragingly. We fight back, she said. But we fight smart. We use tactics they do not expect. We move like shadows, strike like lightning, and disappear like smoke. I do not understand, Your Highness. Then learn, Zara said, her voice growing stronger. Learn from someone who has been protecting me for years. Learn from a human who knows how to turn weakness into strength. As they prepared to take back the palace, Zara realized that her education was far from over. Marcus had shown her that there were many ways to be strong, many ways to be brave. Sometimes the most powerful thing you could do was to think differently than everyone expected. The real battle was just beginning. The backup command center hummed with activity as Marcus worked to restore the palace's defensive systems. His fingers moved quickly across the alien controls, somehow understanding technology that should have been completely foreign to a human. How do you know how to use our computer systems? Zara asked, watching him work. I have had 20 years to learn, Marcus said without looking up. 20 years of studying, watching, and preparing. 20 years, Zara felt a chill run down her spine. But it means I have been protecting you since you were 5 years old, Marcus said quietly. Since the day you first arrived on Kepler 7, before Zara could respond. Alarms began ringing throughout the command center. On the main screen, they could see palace security footage, showing the attackers moving through the corridors in organized groups. They are not random terrorists, Marcus said, studying their movements. Look at their formation, their equipment, their coordination. These are professional soldiers. But whose soldiers? Zara asked. Marcus enhanced the image on one of the screens. The attackers wore masks, but their weapons and armor were clearly Nexari military equipment. Someone with access to your empire's best technology and training. General Caxton's voice came through the communication system. Your Highness, we have captured one of the attackers. He is demanding to speak with you. Put him on screen. Zara ordered. The image changed to show a Nexari soldier kneeling in chains. When he removed his mask, Zara gasped. She recognized him. He was Lieutenant Merton, one of her uncle's personal guards. Princess, Merton said, his voice filled with hatred, you should never have returned from that primitive world. You are not fit to rule the Empire. Why are you doing this? Zara demanded. Because you have been contaminated, Merton spat. 15 years living among humans and other inferior species. You are no longer truly Nexari. You will bring weakness to our great empire. Who sent you? Marcus asked, stepping into view of the camera. Merton's eyes widened when he saw Marcus. You, the shadow creature from Kepler-7. I should have known you would follow her here. Answer the question, Marcus said calmly. I serve the true heir to the throne. Merton said proudly, Prince Velter will restore the Empire to its proper glory. He will remove the human contamination and make us strong again. Zara's heart sank. Her uncle, the man who had been like a father to her, who had visited her on Kepler-7, who had escorted her home for the coronation. He was behind the attack. Where is Prince Velter now? Marcus asked. You will never find him, Merton said. By morning, he will be emperor, and the age of human influence will be over. The communication ended. Zara stood in stunned silence, trying to process what she had learned. Her own uncle wanted her dead. Her own family had betrayed her. I am sorry, Marcus said gently. Family betrayal is always the hardest to accept. How long have you known? Zara asked. I suspected something was wrong when you were first sent to Kepler-7, Marcus said. Children are not usually sent to dangerous frontier worlds for their safety, usually. They are sent there to die. Marcus moved to another computer terminal and began accessing files. I need to show you something. But first, you need to understand who I really am. He pulled up a holographic display that showed official documents. My name is Marcus Chen, former captain in the Earth Defense Force. I was 22 years old when I first came to Kepler-7. Your parents hired me through a private security company. My parents hired you? Zara asked, confused. They were desperate, Marcus said. They knew someone in the royal court wanted you dead. But they did not know who. They could not trust anyone in the Empire, so they looked outside. They found a small human security company that specialized in protecting people in dangerous situations. Marcus showed her more documents. I was supposed to be a temporary assignment, 6 months, maybe a year, just until the political situation stabilized, but you stayed for 20 years. I stayed because I realized the danger was not going away, Marcus said. And because he paused, looking uncomfortable. Because I grew to care about you. You were just a frightened child, abandoned in a harsh world. Someone had to protect you. Marcus activated another holographic display. This one showed a Nexari memory crystal, glowing with soft blue light. This belonged to your mother. She gave it to me before she died, with instructions to show it to you when you were old enough to understand. My mother is dead, Zara whispered. She died 3 years ago, Marcus said sadly. She and your father were killed in what was reported as an accident. But I believe they were murdered when they tried to investigate who was trying to hurt you. Marcus activated the memory crystal. The air above it shimmered, then formed into the image of a beautiful Nexari woman. Zara recognized her immediately, even though she had not seen her mother in many years. My dearest Zara, the image said, if you are watching this, then Marcus has kept his promise to protect you. I am recording this message because I fear for your life and mine. The image of her mother looked directly at Zara. Your uncle Velter has been planning to take the throne for years. He believes that contact with other species, especially humans, is making our empire weak. He sees you as a symbol of that weakness because you have lived among humans. But I want you to know that choosing to send you to Kepler-7 was not abandonment. It was the only way to keep you alive until you were old enough to claim your birthright. The image turned to look at Marcus. I know that asking a human to dedicate his life to protecting my daughter seems impossible. But I have studied human history. And I know that humans are capable of extraordinary loyalty and sacrifice. I believe that Marcus will prove that humans are not weak, but strong in ways that we do not understand. The message continued. Zara, when you become Empress, remember what you learned on Kepler 7. Remember that strength comes not from technology or royal blood, but from the courage to do what is right. Remember that the human who protected you chose to sacrifice his own life for yours, asking nothing in return. The image faded, leaving Zara and Marcus alone in the command center. She was right, Zara said, tears running down her face. You did sacrifice your life for mine. 20 years of hiding in shadows, 20 years of danger, 20 years of protecting someone who did not even know your name. It was not a sacrifice. Marcus said, it was a choice, and I would make the same choice again. But why? Zara asked. Why would you give up everything for me? Marcus smiled sadly. Because someone had to. Because you were innocent. Because I believe that protecting the innocent is what makes us human. Suddenly, the command center's doors exploded inward. Prince Velter entered with a squad of soldiers, their weapons pointed at Zara and Marcus. Hello, niece, Velter said coldly. I think it is time we had a family discussion. The final confrontation was about to begin. Prince Velter stepped into the command center, his royal robes flowing behind him. His soldiers surrounded Zara and Marcus, energy weapons glowing in the dim light. But Velter's eyes were focused entirely on Marcus. So this is the famous human shadow, Velter said with disgust. 20 years of hiding, 20 years of corrupting my niece with your primitive ideas. I taught her to survive, Marcus said calmly, not moving from his position near the computer console. You taught her to be weak, Velter snapped. Look at her now, standing beside a human instead of proper Nexari warriors. This is exactly why she cannot be allowed to rule. Zara stepped forward, her fear replaced by anger. You killed my parents, you tried to kill me, and you call me weak. I did what was necessary to save our empire, Velter said. Your parents were fools. They believed that mixing with inferior species would make us stronger. They were wrong. The only fool here is you, uncle, Zara said, her voice growing stronger. You think that hating others makes you powerful. But real power comes from unity, from learning from each other. Velter laughed coldly. Unity with humans? They live short lives. They have no natural weapons. They depend on primitive technology. What could they possibly teach us? They could teach you how to think, Zara said. How to adapt. How to win against impossible odds. Enough. Velter commanded. Guards, arrest them both. The human will be executed immediately. My niece will be imprisoned until she learns proper respect for Nexari's superiority. The soldiers raised their weapons, but Marcus had been waiting for this moment. During the conversation, he had been quietly accessing the palace's systems through the computer console behind him. Now, Marcus whispered. Suddenly, all the lights in the command center went out. Emergency power failed throughout this section of the palace, but this time, Marcus had prepared for the darkness. He had studied the room's layout, counted the soldiers, and planned his moves. In the absolute darkness, chaos erupted. Marcus moved like a ghost. Using everything he had taught Zara about fighting in darkness, he struck the first soldier silently, taking his weapon before the man could cry out. Then he rolled behind an equipment rack, using the sound of confused voices to locate his next target. Turn on emergency lighting. Velter shouted. The systems are not responding, sir. A soldier replied. Then use your helmet lights. But when the soldiers activated their lights, Marcus was ready. He had positioned himself so that their own lights would blind them. While revealing their positions to him, one by one, he disabled them with quick, precise strikes. Where's he? Velter demanded. How can one human defeat trained Nexari soldiers? Because I fight like a human. Marcus's voice came from the darkness, not like a Nexari. Zara understood what Marcus meant. The Nexari soldiers fought with honor, following rules and formations. But Marcus fought to win, using every advantage he could find. He was not stronger than them, but he was smarter. Zara, Marcus called out, remember what I taught you. Trust your other senses. Zara closed her eyes and listened. She could hear her uncle's heavy breathing near the main door. She could feel the warmth of a soldier's body behind a computer terminal. She could smell the fear and confusion in the air. Moving carefully, she found the soldier behind the terminal and used the techniques Marcus had taught her. A quick strike to disable him. Then she took his weapon. Impossible, Velter breathed. You fight like a primitive. I fight like someone who wants to protect her people, Zara said. Like someone who learned that survival is more important than. Looking impressive, Marcus appeared beside Velter, moving so quietly that the prince did not know he was there until it was too late. Marcus disarmed him quickly and efficiently. It is over, Velter, Marcus said. No, Velter snarled. Even if you defeat me, my supporters control most of the palace. My soldiers outnumber the loyal forces 10-1. You cannot win. Watch us, Zara said. She activated the palace's communication system, broadcasting to every screen and speaker in the building. Her voice echoed through the corridors where fighting was still raging. Citizens of the Nexari Empire, she said, her voice strong and clear. This is your Empress, Zerthiel. I am alive, and I am fighting to reclaim our palace from traitors. Throughout the palace, soldiers on both sides stopped fighting to listen. For 20 years, I lived on Kepler 7, learning lessons that I could never have learned in the comfort of a palace. I learned that real strength does not come from advanced weapons or royal blood. It comes from courage, loyalty, and the willingness to protect others. Marcus watched proudly as Zara continued her speech. I learned these lessons from a human named Marcus Chen, who spent 20 years of his life protecting me, asking for nothing in return. He showed me that we become stronger when we work together, not when we fight alone. On screens throughout the palace, soldiers could see Zara standing confidently beside Marcus, with Prince Velter defeated at their feet. Prince Velter told you that contact with other species makes us weak, but I tell you that learning from others makes us strong. The human who protected me is not primitive or inferior. He is brave, intelligent, and loyal. These are qualities we should respect, not fear. The tide of battle began to turn. Loyal soldiers, inspired by their Empress's words, fought with new determination. Many of Velter's supporters, seeing their leader defeated, began to surrender. Some of you followed my uncle because you believed he would make our empire great. Zara continued. But true greatness comes from cooperation, not domination. It comes from learning, not from refusing to change. Within an hour, the palace was secure. Marcus had coordinated the loyal forces, using human military tactics that confused and overwhelmed the attackers. Instead of fighting for territory, they fought for objectives. Instead of following rigid formations, they adapted to each situation. As dawn broke over the capital city, Zara stood in the great throne room where her coronation had been interrupted. The golden crown lay where it had fallen during the attack. Will you complete the ceremony now? Your Majesty, asked General Caxton. Yes, Zara said. But first, I have an announcement to make. She picked up the crown and turned to face Marcus, who stood quietly in the shadows as always. Marcus Chen, she said formally, for 20 years. You have served as my protector. You have asked for no reward, no recognition, no thanks. But today, I want to change that. Marcus looked surprised. Your Majesty, that is not necessary. Yes, it is, Zara said firmly. I name you as the first Knight Protector of the Nexari Empire. You will stand beside me not as a hidden guardian, but as an honored counselor and friend. The assembled court murmured in shock. A human, given such a high position, it was unprecedented. Furthermore, Zara continued, I invite the human government to send ambassadors to our empire. We have much to learn from each other. Marcus stepped forward and knelt before Zara. I accept this honor, Your Majesty, and I promise to continue protecting you, not from the shadows, but in the light. Zara placed the crown on her own head, becoming the true Empress at last. But as she looked out at her people, she knew that her greatest victory was not defeating her uncle or claiming the throne. Her greatest victory was proving that strength came in many forms, and that sometimes the most powerful thing you could do was trust someone different from yourself. Marcus stood beside her, no longer a shadow, but a friend, as they began the work of building a better empire together.